Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Gordon Parks and Alison McConnell here with me on the show today. Delighted to have your company, and as ever, thank you very much for subscribing to our YouTube channel. More and more people hitting the subscription button, and if you want additional content, giveaways, competitions, the lot, then why not hit the subscribe button to PLZ Premium as well. You get the chance to enter a competition. The minute you subscribe, you're in the hat for a chance for you and your partner to head to Budapest to the 2026 Champions League final. Certainly something to look forward to. Tickets and accommodation to the Champions League final the minute you subscribe to our premium. And over and above that, I'm delighted to say that PLZ Soccer has teamed up with our official charity partner Maggie's. If you want to find out exactly the great work that they do, all you have to do is go to maggies.org and you'll see all the great support they offer people and families affected by cancer. So, Premier Sports Cup takes the main focus of our attention. As ever, we tend to, Alison, before we talk about this, somebody will mention it, we tend to change our backdrop just to try and make Parksy look great. We're changing it on a weekly basis
to compliment our guests.
Yes.
I think there's been a backdrop invented to achieve that goal.
It was Parksy's demands, purple M&Ms and a change of backdrop.
Silver hair looks great with this background. So, give us your thoughts on the Premier Sports Cup and, of course, all the noise that surrounds Scottish football. It's never too far away from controversy. We'd love to hear from you on that as well. Partick Thistle against Celtic, and Brendan Rodgers came out, and this is what he had to say ahead of the game with regards to the crisis that's going on. Well, this is not a crisis, according to Brendan. There is the noise that Celtic is in crisis. It absolutely is not. We're not at our best, but everything that is happening is natural with the changes we made and with the players adapting and coming in late. Our duty is to make sure we still win games, and the players are doing that. You can see that togetherness is there. Ultimately, you want that within every sector of the club, but the supporters know that they are there to support the team. Well, with that in mind, I think he's absolutely right. I don't think the club is in crisis. It's certainly soulless. I think the board is more intent in cashing in rather than connecting with the supporters. And I think the board certainly don't share communication, strategy, or indeed the ambition of the supporters at the moment. I think there's a real disconnect.
I think the mood music at Celtic was always defined by Europe, and I think the wind came out at the sails far too early. Exiting the Champions League is a crisis for a club that should be pushing beyond, and there's a sense of deflation because the glass ceiling that they were going to hopefully put their head through hasn't materialised. And I think Celtic fans have reached a point where they have an appetite now, a desire, a hunger domestically. It's not satisfying, and Brendan's right. Domestically, there's no crisis. They'll probably punch their weight in the Europa League, but I think there's a disconnect between the fans and the board because they made the fatal mistake, as they do season after season, by not really putting the foot down financially and making sure that Champions League would be an ambition that they could go and surpass what they achieved last season. So, crisis or no crisis, Brendan can say what he wants and he is right, but the fans know, and Brendan knows the fans know.
Yeah, it's always interesting. He can't resist in the comments there about, he can't resist with you've got to read between the lines with Brendan. He can't resist the fact that he's got to emphasise to everybody, and by the way, the players come in late.
Yeah, I think there was a point to be made in that I didn't have time to work with these players and get them to gel quickly. I think that was a frustration over the course of the window, and I think it was a frustration that was evident in various comments that were leading up to that. Those final frantic days of the window as Celtic toiled to get anyone in, and we know the background to it. We know that Maeda was desperate to go, had a move lined up and was unable to follow through on it because Celtic hadn't got reinforcements in quickly enough. We saw it even in January. It's not entirely new. You saw it in January. The weekend that Kyogo was going, we heard Brendan Rodgers saying he's not going. I'm getting someone. I expect someone to come in.
Do you sympathise though? I mean, the pure economics and reality that Celtic faces, if they have to go and spend to bring the quality of player in that the fans are demanding, they're not going to get them early because they don't come in early. They've got to be satisfied they're going to a Champions League club. If you're really talking about the money they really now Celtic need to spend to get to that different level, they're not going to spend it. So I get Brendan is working within a system that will never satisfy what his ambitions are, and it's a perennial thing. It's not going to be solved.
I think with smarter recruitment, you could solve it in part. They're never going to say we're going to go out and sign someone prime, 27, 28 years old, who will have a multitude of offers on the table, who will be able to command a really vast salary.
Is that not why then you get an Iniacho out of the bargain basement? It's a desperate, another frantic, get someone in, face name.
Yeah, but I think everybody accepts, certainly over the course of the last week, everybody has talked about it ad nauseum about the failings of the Celtic board. The measure of discontent is the protests that go on that surround Celtic and the desire for the fans to get that communication. But when you go back to a football game, suddenly it's all about Brendan trying to quell, quash, diminish that unrest by winning games. Then a couple of weeks from now, maybe getting a win in the Europa League. All of these things are how he can slowly but surely quieten down the noise. It increases even more when you get to a situation where it doesn't go according to plan, or indeed if the board continues its stance of saying we'll just keep quiet until they go away. You know, so that's the way this thing's going. There's no point in us going back over all the failings of them not getting to the Champions League. They're now facing how do they deal with it. Is it as big a crisis as Hugh Scott says here? You know, they're all talking about this is a crisis, and Hugh, who regularly contributes, says, I've got a laugh, what's happening at Celtic is a crisis. Now at my team, Rangers, he says, that's more critical, and that's the nature of it.
Yeah, that's if you were to compare the two clubs just now, they're in vastly different states, and their frustrations and gripes are regarding different decisions and processes. But what you mentioned there about the noise quieting if Brendan Rodgers wins games of football, that's not exclusive to Celtic. That's true of any club. If you can get it right on the park, if you're winning games, clocking up points, everything else tends to come down significantly in tone and temperature. If you're winning games, people forgive so much. Classic case in point is going up Connachtkill on Monday and going for a dip in Loch Lomond. If you're a winning manager who does that, the perception of that is that you're innovative and modern and to be applauded for trying new things. It's about the optics of things at points.
Alison, your expertise within the politics at Celtic is quite extensive, right? You worked close with that for a long time. Is it not the case that there's a culture just now that some fans just will not be happy regardless? They just don't feel as though they're getting enough?
I think there's a discord. I think there's just a what has become an historic discord now between the board and the support, and you have the support who believe that they have a board who have betrayed the soul of the club. Whether or not you buy into that or you think it is, the perception is that they are so far removed with the political ethos of what was traditionally Celtic is the undercurrent of so much of that.
But that's going back to Peter's point. That's going back 15 years, 20 years. You've worked in that environment, you've worked alongside Celtic, and you know that it has never changed. It's just heightened now.
Yeah,
because there's a culture of complaint.
No, but I don't agree with you on that. I'll tell you why. Because there's in a democracy, you get every right to voice your displeasure if a company you work for, if a team you support, if any organisation you feel is not stepping up to the plate, conducting itself in a way that you're making a contribution to, and you've got a voice. I think the Celtic fans and Rangers fans and any fans of any club have every right, whether it's season in, season out, to voice their displeasure. It's something that's happening. You know, the two issues, and we'll talk about Russell Martin in a moment, but the two issues are quite simply, firstly for Celtic, you know, the pain, I'll tell you what the pain is. The pain is last night and the night before, because the Celtic fans are watching Europe's elite playing on the highest stage, getting all the media coverage you could possibly think of, the world's greatest players, and they're not there. and they think they should be there. And whether they're at a level that's good enough or not, they think they should be dining at that table partially because they've not been going out with the money and buying burgers. They've been giving their hard-earned cash and saying, we deserve at least a sniff of the steak.
They're deluding themselves. There has to be a sense of reality. The teams that you're talking about that played last night are on a different stratosphere financially.
No, but they can still dine at the table.
Well, they've done great like last season. They gave a wee appetiser of what they can achieve. And sometimes that can be dangerous in sport because then you raise the expectations and it can't be matched in reality.
There's no crime for ambition.
Name me a club that played, you will name a few, right? But the majority that are playing at the top table last night and the night before are pedigree football clubs that pay pedigree wages.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is you are portraying it as if, well, it's just for the really, really rich and the famous. All you other paupers can go and play in the Diddy competitions.
Where have you been?
Have the ambition.
Where have you been? That's the football world.
No, but
the
point is still there are people in clubs that have ambitions that want to try and get there, that want to try and do that. If that was the case, Porto shouldn't have bothered turning up in 2004.
Again, we go back to budgets. Porto are spending far more than Celtic, and you get what you pay for eventually.
In 2004, Porto were a club that were within an ace of getting beaten by Celtic in 2003, the year before. The point is, it's not a crime to have ambition. It's not a situation where you say, well, this is a members club and you have to have, your multi-millionaires at the back and you can't come in. They're not saying they're going to win and they're going to beat a Barcelona. They're saying this is the competition. We think we should be there. We think we should beat Kairat Almaty. We've got every right to think we should be there. We haven't asked you to spend 20 million on one player of your 100 million that we've given you for your third strip, which is completely and utterly mince. This is what the point is. Get them to the game, get them into the competition. We expect that. That's not a crime.
I said beforehand, that's a crisis because the expectation levels are such. Of course you should have beat Kairat. Of course that demand should have been fulfilled. But then beyond that, unless you're spending that £20 million, it's a pipe dream.
I still don't agree with you.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I think you've got every right to actually want to go to the game. You want to go. You want to play in that competition. I think that's where the discord comes. I think the Celtic fans and the Rangers fans, they may well have heightened expectation, but they've got every right to think, come on, you can beat Kairat Almaty. We want to play in the games last night. We might get cuffed. We might get a few spankings along the way. But you might get a situation where I can take my son, I can take my daughter, I can take my wife, or my wife can take my husband, and they can go to Europe and say, by the way, look at the Allianz Arena. Look at this game. Great football. It's a memory. They want memories. That's what the game's about. It's not about some elite club with gold cards that Partridge wants everybody into who's got millions.
There's truth here in both of these arguments. And both can be right at the same time, believe it or not. So, yes,
thanks, Alice.
You are correct. You are correct in saying I'm getting my CV off to the UN when we finish. But yeah, you are entirely correct to say that Celtic fans historically regard themselves as being able to compete with Europe's elite. It's celebrated, 1967 is celebrated throughout the club and always has been. It's on the jerseys, blah, 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 blah. Celtic fans believe that they belong at that top table. They should have had enough this season to get there. I think there's a convenient gelling over almost that team really should have had enough to beat Kairat Almaty. It was inexcusable. The performance was abject. Not to score a goal across that length of time. I think in different circumstances it would have brought and invited much more scrutiny than what it did. However, also you can see why the board are also thinking we can't say that we're going to commit to a specific level of spending on individual players to chase this dream of European competition and European football because it takes you down a road that's dangerous. Now, Peter, you held court there for quite a while. Let someone else speak.
Thanks, Alice.
So you referenced there 2003 and 2004 and you said, Celtic took Porto within a whisker of winning the UEFA Cup in 2003. That was a Celtic team that had a lot of money spent on it. it would have it was unsustainable for the club to continue in that trajectory. It was.
I know a lot of people actually criticise me sometimes for you know, maybe sometimes butting in, and again, I apologise for butting in.
Well done,
We've had that argument over 2 weeks, and I still vehemently disagree with you. Just basically because, you know, that's the great thing about having a programme where you can have that opinion. I vehemently disagree with you because, quite simply, we've had the whole 2003 money, rein it in. This is a club with 100 million in the bank, and the fans want communication, and the communication they want is to say, we're not happy with your strategy, which is you wait to the last minute to sign players when you could go out and do what many clubs do and get half decent players in to get Celtic past the likes of a pub team like Carrot Almaty.
I don't think there's...
You're reading a line from the boardroom, which is basically, we can't spend this, we don't want to break UEFA rules on the money we're taking in and the money we should be spending. All of it is a smokescreen. They've got £100 million. The next board AGM will be an absolute hoot. They've got a lot of money. No Celtic fan in their right mind is saying spend 10, 15, 20 million, go and get a Chris Sutton or a Neil Lennon or like. But there are good players out there that you can buy for a certain price, and you can actually allow the manager, Brendan Rodgers, to have the same ambitions that some of the fans do. Just give me a chance. You know, give me a chance to do something. And give me some half-decent players. He asked for 2 or 3. What he got was 7 projects, which he didn't sign.
I had to rub my eyes and go and check with the Hearts communications chief and say, is it really €2 million that you spent on one player? Which is absolutely off the chart for me, for a club like Hearts to go and spend that. Speak to Hearts fans about what their expectations are. I mean, that is a massive outlay for a club, and it's the fans are getting what they wanted then, right? Multi-million-pound players. Player. Their expectations. Do you think it's to go and win the league?
Well, can I ask you something? How many Hearts fans do you know? Do you know a lot of them? I speak to them all the time. I'm around them.
Try to work out.
Do you know what their expectations are? Do you know what the Hearts' expectations are? Let's go to Tynecastle and take a few scalps. And by the way, we don't think we're going to win the league in 10 years, although Tony Bloom does. But let's go along for the ride on this. Let's not think we're going to be spending 3 and 4s and 5 millions. Let's buy into your Jamestown analytics and have a dream. If you don't have dreams, Parsley, there's no point in living. That's what they're going. They're going to Tynecastle and they're saying to themselves, by the way, we went to Ibrox last week and we beat them. And it was absolutely magnificent. And the 1,000 fans that were there went home and went, oh, what a day out we had. We sang, we noised up their fans, we won 2-0. We went back, we had a pint at the what do you call it, the Tynecastle Arms, and we absolutely sang the Heart song till about 2:30 in the morning, and then we headed off to the piano bar, Fingers, until 6:30, and then we thought to ourselves, wait a minute, there's a pub open in Leith, it starts at 6 o'clock, we'll fire down there as well, and then hopefully by the time we get back round, we'll head to the Rutland, we'll go to Buster Brown's. Partsy, people can dream. And what we don't need is quashed by people who are reading off a boardroom and a pile of pish.
I think a lot of what you're saying is halcyon stuff. I don't think it represents the reality of modern football at the moment, where, sadly, it's a closed shop.
By the way, the other thing I think, and Brendan deserves tremendous credit for it, is the one thing that a lot of people, maybe forget, and it's the human element of this. And I have, again, with the balance, offered the fact that I don't think Michael Nicholson, Peter Lawwell, or indeed Dermot Desmond, or indeed Patrick Stewart should suffer vitriolic abuse in any capacity. You've got the right to say, look, we want change, we're not happy. The Rangers fans have got every right to do that, and they will do that this weekend ahead of the Hibs game. But even Brendan Rodgers has come out and said, look, there needs to be more respect towards Russell Martin. And I think you share that view because your involvement and engagement with him in a professional capacity has been cordial, and you see a different side to him that maybe the fans are not seeing at the moment. Or should they just say, look, we're just saying we're not happy with the way he's going about his business? Yeah,
listen, I think there's an inevitability that where he finds himself and the fact he's not been able to buy a win so far in the league. I think you know what's coming. There is an avalanche of criticism coming your way. On a human level, when you see a manager standing on the touchline last weekend and an entire stadium is chanting what we all know was sung, I think you can empathise at how lonely a position that must be. I also think, though, there is a perception among Rangers fans that he's arrogant. I don't see it. I found him really personable. That's all by the by. It doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter how we find him and how amenable he is to deal with, and I think he is. And I think he comes across as very likeable. The bottom line is he's going to be judged on his teams, and his teams are just falling short on every level. He
presents himself in a way that Rangers fans just at the moment I'm just not going to accept, because they want a beleaguered figure. They want somebody that looks as if the anxiety and the troubles are all on his shoulders. Deadbeat. They want a deadbeat guy and they want him gone. But I'm like you. I mean, I've dealt with Russell a lot over the years. His best pals were a good friend of mine, so I've had access to him. He's a brilliant guy. He won't be caring. And I think his answer about they don't know me. Mm-hmm. We'll mention the word karma. You're not going to interfere with Russell Martin's karma by booing him and telling him that he's getting sacked tomorrow morning. He's not that kind of... He doesn't have the makeup for that. He's also getting a hefty wage when it eventually happens, which is going to be very soon. I have to say, crowds are allowed to chant really within reason what they want. And Russell Getty is par for the course for a guy that's struggled as badly as he has, and it's happened time eternal.
Yeah, the other thing that Brendan Rodgers mentioned, which was quite interesting, because we all offer an opinion. Some don't like it. I mean, Brian says, Peter, my dream is for PLZ to stop all the anti-Celtic chat. Brian, you're living in Cloud Cuckoo land. This is not the anti-Celtic chat. This is the Celtic fans voicing their displeasure towards the board. Have you been on another planet? Have you missed this? This is led by every Celtic Supporters Association you could think of. And the other thing, which again, we do offer opinions, some you like, some you don't. Brendan Rodgers has mentioned that he thinks, some of the managers, assistants that have been criticising Russell Martin, I don't think he's too happy. It was one of those classic, what I call, Brendan just throws it in there and gets you to join the dots. But he was fairly critical of people who are now in punditry, who were in that dugout not so long ago at Ibrox, who are now offering their tuppence worth on something that Brendan says they weren't able to do.
I think what he said he had a moral issue with people passing comment on his tactical failures when they couldn't get a tune out of him very recently either. So you can make an inference there about who might be in question.
Yeah, of course, the big job this weekend is for Partick Thistle to try and upset the apple cart as well. It's a cup game, it's a one-off, the old cliches. Mark Wilson knows exactly what it's like to play for Celtic, and he certainly knows what the fans are demanding.
I mean, every supporter group wants control on the pitch. You should sign this one, you shouldn't have signed that one. Celtic have got a very good structure in place and have done for a number of years. And I get frustration going into the Champions League, but you can be sure that they've got a bench full of quality, a starting 11 full of quality that can compete and probably should win domestically year on year. So it'll be incredibly difficult for us to deal with that firepower. But of course, Celtic fans demand the highest, and I've been there, I've seen it, understand what they're going through, but I don't think it'll affect the players that are on the pitch.
Yeah, fairly sane words from Mark. Very level-headed guy. I think he's doing really well with Partick Thistle. I didn't expect them to be where they are at the moment.
Been to watch them a few times. I think he comes across really well, really articulate, understands the social media within the club. I know that he lets the cameras to come on the pitch to film the warm-up before the game, which is quite innovative. It's quite fearless. I mean, he leaves himself open to a lot. Partick Thistle are a good side. They've got people like Tony Watt, who brought a real hunger. He looks fit. He looks as if he's got a real goal threat about him. They play with wide men. They play with an energy. They've actually got a kid in the middle of the park that was at Celtic as a young boy. Went to Belgium and came back, who was exceptional in the two games that I've watched them play. I can't remember his name. They've got good, honest defensive qualities a decent keeper. Biggest problem they've got, I think, is the pitch is immaculate. Celtic will go there and love, because the trip to Partick Thistle isn't the same when the pitch is great.
Yeah, okay, he knows he's on. It is a free hit. All he needs is his team to try and make it as absolutely as difficult as possible for Celtic. You know, we always talk about these little moments in a cup game where something has to go his way big time.
Yeah, I think Celtic still look vulnerable at points within games. I think they still look defensively vulnerable. I think they look quite staid at points. I think they got away with one at Rugby Park last weekend, that late penalty, just getting them out of jail. I think you can see it's been disjointed in moments. It's not entirely all clicking. It's not fast. There's not been an intensity or a tempo to performances, which of course was a hallmark of Brendan Rodgers' teams. These really fast, powerful, aggressive teams. I think Celtic definitely look a weaker side than what they were this time last year. I think Mark Wilson will feel confident of going and saying, go and see what you could do.
Depends if you watch them play. Tony Watt drifts and drops into the hole, but they've got Aidan Fitzpatrick on the left, Stevie Lawless sometimes on the right. They do play, they make the pitch big. They're going to have to revert to some kind of more structure.
Don't give Celtic as much space, obviously.
And how does he manage to do that and tinker with it without taking the flow? Because if you watch Partick domestically, they're on the front foot and they go early at you.
Okay, 3-1 Celtic.
4-0.
I'm going to say 2-0 Celtic.
2-0. Rangers against Hibs. Should you be worried that Andrew Kavanagh's come in a private jet? Is that just basically, you know, the bell is tolling, it's just getting louder?
I come back to the point about Russell Martin. That's why Rangers fans have got an even greater bone of contention, because he's not exhibiting his hair's not starting to fall out. In fact, it's getting thicker. He won't be worried. He's pragmatic. He knows the game. He knows the way it works. If you fail, I don't think he'll be losing any sleep over a private jet arriving from America.
Yeah, Raskin's back in the squad. Does that help that he's maybe been able to smooth things over?
This is quite a controversial take on it, and I know it bucks the trend of really, because he obviously makes the team better, but I think he's been a poisonous element within that dressing room, and Russell had an opportunity to make his presence felt and show exactly what was going on and who's taking the lead. I don't know how that works now, and I think if I was Russell Martin, banishment to a degree would have been a better policy.
Well, again, that's why I love having you on, Parksy. I disagree with you, because a manager's job is to manage the side, to work out how you can get results that keep the fans happy, but also deliver your ambitions. Sometimes you have to back people that you don't necessarily like because they're there to fulfil a role and they're well paid to fulfil it. So, but that in itself would have been cutting off his nose to spite his face.
That's the phrase that I was just about to say. I don't think it does anyone any good to have arguably your best midfielder from last season not involved for the next couple of months, because there's no exit strategy now. So you know he's there at least until January. I think the adult thing to do is to say we have to find a way. I think he made his point. I think he put down his marker. I think the expulsion from the squad for a while and then coming back into it, I think you make your point. I think he's flexed a bit of muscle to say, I'm the guy here that calls the shots. I am assuming there'll have been an apology or something along the way for Raskin to come back in, but I think it's a sensible course of action. I think if he goes down the road that you're going on, I think it just becomes in danger then of infiltrating the club at every level all the time. Every press conference you're asked about it, every single defeat, where's Raskin, or your fans singing his name when he's not involved and it's not going well on the pitch. I think he's dealt with it, and I think the sensible thing to do is to move on and bring him back into the fold.
Yeah, one thing that's not going to move on is the criticism from the Rangers supporters, because they've organised at 4:30. They're going to be there. They're obviously calling for the head of Russell Martin and the chief executive Patrick Stewart to go. The Rangers manager says, people will be highly critical. They've every right to do so. He can't control it.
Listening to someone tell me the team doesn't look like it's coached is difficult, because I think the one thing that we've always had with any of our teams is they have a certain way of doing things. Whether you believe in it or you like it or not, they definitely look a certain way, which takes a lot of time on the training pitch. So we'll get there with this team. The fans' protests and stuff I can't control at all, so I don't spend any time. I have to respect it. I have to understand their frustration and their annoyance, but I feel every bit of it as well. But I do think it's an amazing opportunity for us as a team to come through this period and to grow through it and to be so strong from it. And hopefully at that point, then everyone will come together. We just need to win football matches. So the protests and stuff like that, I can't take it personally because I don't know any of them, and they don't know me, and they don't know how hard we're working. But I think the people inside the building, I feel incredibly well supported. The players, the staff, ownership, and as long as that continues, then it'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. I mean, I think one comment here is this will be Martin's 13th game in charge. 13 games in charge. And this is where we are in 2025. All hell's let loose. They're absolutely calling for his head. And I think sometimes, and I'm amazed he actually quoted it there, but I don't know who it was that said it, but for people to turn around and say that the team doesn't look coached is just ignorant.
It's a cheap shot, and it's an airing of a personal grievance. Here's what I could have won, never won. And listen, I'm all for, if that's his opinion, and it's a genuine opinion, and it's hard to argue with that characterisation of the way the team are playing. It isn't looking as if it's got a structure. It isn't looking as if there's a real methodology that he promised to bring to the club. So there's certainly a point. He's rustled Russell's feathers, so to speak. And
you can coach Parksy. You might not get the outcome that you want, but to suggest that he doesn't coach them is a nonsense.
No, he's definitely got. That's one of the few times you actually hear Russell's. There's a bit of degree of real disappointment. Russell doesn't go much beyond that kind of emotion level. Do you criticise the individual for making the point? He's entitled to his opinion, and it's hard to not find reason in that argument. They don't look like a well-coached team. Do you think they do?
Well, I think I would say that it's not that they don't look like a well-coached team. I think that they haven't embraced the style that he wants to play. And I don't think the Raskin situation has helped. And I also think the other thing that is key to this, now remember this is his 13th game in charge. And I talk about this for every manager. You've got to give him a chance to get the team that he wants out in the park. And this is a team that he's inherited that are a bunch in the last 12 months and before and after Steven Gerrard. This is a team of losers. This is a team that don't know how to win. This is a team of players who can't actually provide what the Rangers fans want to see. There are some players there that are not fit to wear the Rangers jersey, and he's had to change that. And this is his 13th game in charge.
Yeah, I think there has been a perennial accusation of the mental frailties within that Rangers team time and time again, that they've been subjected to it. He has spent a lot of money. He's brought in a lot of players over the course of the summer. They recruited early, recruited well, in terms of getting players into certain positions and doing it quickly. But it is still very early. The big issue is that there isn't really any evidence of improvement. What can you point to say you can hang your hat on that getting better, or there are pockets of games where you think there is encouragement to be found? That's the problem.
Here's an insight into that argument that you're making. Barry Ferguson got the job at Clyde. I spoke to him on the phone extensively. He told me he was going to go and play properly and make sure that they did it the right way and bring footballers in, recruit players and play for the back. I says, Barry, go and find the biggest midfielders that you can find. Get your keeper to launch it long. Play through your midfield by getting it over and get midfielders knocking it on and playing off second balls. Otherwise, you'll get hunted quickly because you don't play football in that league the way that you want to. It might sound ideal to you, but it's not going to work. He brought in footballers and it never worked. Rangers, at the moment, need to adapt a different strategy. Graham Souness always said you must go and turn teams quickly, put the ball in behind, be physical early on and win the battle. Rangers' biggest problem at the moment is they're vulnerable, they're fragile, they have anxiety, they're scared. What's easy? The antidote to that is everyone can be strong in battle and put the ball beyond and turn teams around quickly. They're playing in front it just encourages team to go and do the damage that they're doing.
Yeah, the other unfortunate thing, and I think it goes back to what you said, and rightly so, Alison, is it hasn't gelled in that short space of time. And sometimes if it doesn't gel and you've got the demands of a fan base that wants to win the league, there's where the expectation and the reality, you've got to try and balance that and get the team to perform quickly. And the thing that I think is really damning of Russell Martin is that Derek McInnes has been able to, Jens Berthel Askau has been able to get in and get a style. Motherwell,
identity, really.
yeah, you can see what they're trying to do. Hibs, again, David Gray, when they were all calling for his head, he just remained resolute to what he tried to do, the players that he wanted to play for him, and there was a style about them, and there was an organised strategy, structure about them. You could see it this season in a very short space of time. You can see it with Motherwell. They're a joy to watch. You can see it with Hibs and Hearts. The managers have been able to implement a style and a structure, and they know what they've got to do. And I don't think some of the Rangers players have been able to embrace that, and that's been another element that's annoyed a lot of Rangers fans.
Yeah, and I think that was a point that was actually made at the now infamous press conference last Saturday in the wake of that Hearts defeat. I think one of the bloggers actually, I think, made that point when he said, it's going to take time. And he said, well, Hearts haven't had time, or words to that effect. So I think that does add to frustration that it's not coming together quickly. And it's not even that it's not coming together quickly, it's that you're not seeing signs of it even coming together. You're not even getting a flash or maybe 10, 15 minutes sustained, maybe at the start of a game or at the start of a second period, where you can see this is the shape and this is the identity of this team, and then they lose their way a bit. It's just, it all looks very disjointed at points. And I think the big problem now is you're 9 points behind Hearts. Now, we've spoken about it. I think Rangers will be second. I think they will claw it back. But it is a significant chasm to already be eaten into. And I think this season Rangers fans would probably have accepted not winning the league, but they wanted it to be competitive. They wanted to see a challenge. They wanted to see a team that was capable of building for a future.
Word that, Alison, in football, team. Right? That's why I think he's taking a gamble bringing Raskin back in, because he's not in that ethic, that team ethic at the moment, from what I can gather. But our Hearts are balanced. They've got brave. They've got all different kind of dimensions that make a good team. They've got good types. They've got consistent Craig Halkett's. They've got structure. They've got attacking flair. Everybody knows they want to go and please their manager. At Rangers, there's a complete paralysis of that.
Isn't it interesting though? This was a Hearts side as well last year, where a lot of the nucleus and spine of that current team who had an abject campaign. Last year, Stephen Naismith was at 9 games. He got at the start of the campaign before he was out of a job, and they were languishing at the bottom half of the table. There's a core of players still there. Yeah,
but a manager and a good manager can somehow take players that haven't been performing and then engage them again, re-energise them, and then give them a specific, footballers like a specific, simple project. This is what I want you to do. A message. They don't want it muddled in their head, and some managers are able to do it. Brendan Rodgers is great at that, making players better players. He's got that ability. For whatever Jens Berthel Askau has done, he gave them a clear message in the Netherlands, and every Motherwell player I speak to said we knew what the plan was and how we were going to fit into it. So it was a clear message. By the way, and I also want to read out a couple of things. Hugh Burns makes a great point. Motherwell haven't won a game, Peter, says Hugh. Hugh, you're absolutely right, and I accept that Motherwell's expectations as a fan base is totally different from Rangers. You're right, but what they do have is a strategy that everybody understands, a type of football that is very easy on the eye, and the fans are embracing it, they're enjoying it, and Jens Berthel Askau has said that they will get better. And you've got a fan base that likes what they see. The Rangers fans don't like what they see at the moment.
No, and there's either one of two ways that footballers perform for a manager. They either fear the manager and they go and deliver because they don't want the wrath, or they want to please him because he's so engaging and he's been so good to them and they want to go and please. Also, Martin falls between both stools. I don't think he's a a fearsome manager, an aggressive kind of type. And I don't think he's cultivating that kind of... I think who can cultivate an atmosphere in that Rangers dressing room? But I don't think he's that kind of Derek McInnes type, who has that ability to make you feel as if Brendan Rodgers makes players feel better than they are and gives them instruction, which is simple. I think the biggest problem with Russell is he complicates things. He's got a philosophy which is bamboozling at the moment, and he can't get it across. Motherwell, on the other hand, have managed to do it quickly. I don't know the personality of the manager, but he's doing one or two things. Coaching them well, but he's either making these players want to please him, or he's got a hard edge.
Well, here's a bit. We're about to give our predictions, but of course, for the Hibs fans, I was speaking to a number of Hibs fans, and there's a really good feel-good factor around the club. There's they released their 150th anniversary shirt. Everybody's embracing it, sold out within 10 minutes. Everybody's singing Sunshine and Leaf. Everybody. And over and above that...
Can you elaborate on that, please, Peter?
No, I won't. I'll leave it till somebody eventually outlines it over the next couple of days. But the upshot of it all is the mood in the camp is good, as Kerry Pollock will now translate to you.
Good afternoon here at the Hibernian Training Centre today. David Gray has been looking ahead to his side's meeting with Rangers in the Premier Sports Cup quarter-final that takes place at Ibrox tomorrow night at 5:45. And with fond memories at the National Stadium himself, David Gray wants his players to believe they can do that as well.
That's why when you come to a club like Hibs, there is a genuine opportunity to try and win something, and at this moment in time we're 3 games away from winning a trophy, 1 game away from a semi-final regardless of the opposition, and it's up to us to try and take as much as we can and go there with a game plan to try and get in the next round.
With the pressures mounting on Rangers boss Russell Martin as the games come in thick and fast and results not going their way, David Gray says he certainly shares sympathy with the Gers boss.
I think it's always challenging, even when it's a very different pressure, but the pressure's on every single week. It's what we sign up to as managers. Rather than when you might work in business, whatever line of work you work in, sometimes it's quarterly, you get your results, yearly, whatever that looks like. We get our result every week, once a week at 5:45, and you've either been really good or really poor, and that's the nature of the beast and what we sign up to every single week. It's also why, certainly why I do it, I enjoy the pressure, I enjoy the thrill that comes with that. But it can be challenging. It can be tough on personal life as well, and you never really want it to affect that. As long as it stays professional and everybody's trying to do the right things, you can always be respectful of that. Because everyone, same in football, everybody's got an opinion and everyone's got the way in which they believe it should be done. And I'm sure Russell's got his beliefs in the way he wants it to be moving forward and how he believes he can turn it around.
It all takes place tomorrow evening at Ibrox. Just one team can go through to the all-important semi-finals at Hampden Park. Just who will it be? Kick-off is at 5:45.
David Gray is probably best placed to know the pressures of, maybe not as many fans as not a percentage as many Hibs fans who were unhappy with him. They were cutting him a lot of slack, and the board, I think, favoured sticking with him because they'd been sacking that many managers before him too quickly. But he eventually turned it around. They stuck with him. They've backed him with players, and some of his players are good to watch.
Great. Lazarus story. I mean, really, it's a testimony to patience.
Yeah.
I think at the right time, Hibs had to show patience because the revolving door for managers was extreme. But you're right, capital clubs, we're talking about positive things. We're talking about an exciting, expansive Hearts team that are spending money. We're now talking about a Hibs team that are spending money. The sum of all parts, we're going back to it, 2 good teams, the balance is there, good types, atmosphere, the character. We work around the clubs, we can feel it. Conversely, you can feel it when you go to Ibrox. Opposite, it matters, and I think the chemistry at both clubs, which is critical to good players as well, is great.
And they've got a good bench as well. They've got a solid bench that they can make changes and make a difference in a game.
I think both do. I think both Hearts and Hibs have got pretty strong. I think you've seen that over the last couple of weeks, being able to bring players on that then influence the outcome of a game. It just gives you that depth. It also gives you scope to change it slightly and change how you want to go about it, particularly in moments of adversity. But I think this is quite an interesting test for Hibs tomorrow. I think I've been impressed by them.
You're about to you're getting into your Ruffyism now, aren't you? Go on.
I actually don't know, and that's a really honest opinion. I don't know how this one goes tomorrow. in some ways I'm inclined to think that Rangers won it because they have to, because of just where the club is and the atmosphere around it.
Is that your gut feeling?
But I wonder if it has the opposite effect. I wonder if actually you have these players who have been notoriously inhibited by that kind of atmosphere, and that Hibs sent blood and they go and they get the win. And I think I'm going to go for a Hibs win.
Wow.
I think Hibs.
Didn't expect that, were we?
Last weekend when Russell Martin acknowledged that there is an anxiety at points within some of his players playing at Ibrox, I think the atmosphere could be toxic from the get-go tomorrow. Even before long before a ball is kicked, I think it could be pretty ugly.
Michael Taylor has just actually highlighted the scoreline that I think it's going to be. Rangers 1, Hibs 2.
You make a great point for the scoreline that you've predicted, but I think law of averages comes into play at some point, and self-preservation within a Rangers dressing room who realise rock bottom has arrived. It can only get better, surely. And that law of averages, players that should be able to go and turn up and perform to a greater level, far greater level, I just think I can't even envisage the atmosphere at Ibrox if they lose. So for that reason alone, I think Rangers will win.
I think that atmosphere is prevalent though, even before.
I know. Listen, there's no sense to that. There's no logic to what I've just said, but that's where they are, Rangers, at the moment.
Yeah, there's been no logic to your punditry on this programme today.
Punditry.
It's gone from one extreme to the other, and now he picks Rangers to win. You couldn't make it up with him. But yeah, listen, that's the joy of it all.
Put it this way: if I'm in that Rangers dressing room tomorrow, and I'm sitting there, and I'm on the money I'm on, and I realise that this is all eyes are on us, personally, that self-preservation kicks in, and I want to go. Listen, I know it's dross, but I'm going to go and show myself. It has to be this weekend.
Yeah, well, Hugh Scott, I think, who, Hugh and many others on our live feed offer balance, an opinion on these things. And he says, 2-1 Rangers for me, Peter. This is the time to stand up and show why you're at Rangers in the first place. And I think that's something logically that every fan will be looking at and saying, this is the time to understand what it's like.
That was the point of Monday's exercise. See that, like going for a swim in Loch Lomond after the hike? I think that's the whole point of it, to say this is really uncomfortable, but you actually can come out of it. You can stand together with your teammates and feel discomfort. He used the word pain in the press conference. I told them, we're all going to feel a bit of pain here together. But I don't know if that's a message. You've had the moment. Like you're experiencing what you're about to experience when you walk out that tunnel. Also, we spoke about it at the start of the week. You're going to have this protest, and the dressing rooms are right at the front. The players are getting changed and ready to go out for a warm up, and you are going to hear every single word and every shout and every chant before you go and start to concentrate on a massive game that's coming up. So there's no hiding place for it. So I think Monday's exercise was all about prepare to be uncomfortable.
I remember being at Easter Road and Pat Fenlon was under pressure. They'd lost game after game. You might have been there. It was a Wednesday night. Hibs get beat and the fans were demanding Pat leave. And Derek McGregor, colleague from The Sun, one of the greatest moments of post-match press conferences, asked Pat, the fans are demanding your head, Pat, are you going to leave? They were calling for you to get sacked. He says, I never heard them. He says, I was just concentrating on the game. Derek pointed to the window where there was a mass protest down the stairs. He shouted, can you hear them now, Pat? What I'm saying is, Hearts wasn't a shock, right? It wasn't a shock, but even if you've got no association with Rangers, just from a purely sadomasochistic point of view, if you hear that Hibs have won at the weekend, it's an intake of breath and a wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So your Rangers 2-1 Hibs.
Yeah, I think 2-1 1-0. I think there's one goal in it.
Okay. Aberdeen against Motherwell. If we're talking about managers that are under pressure, is Jimmy Tillene under pressure?
Huge. I just think, again, he has to bear his fangs. He's just got to show that levels of expectation are far greater than what they're delivering. And they spent money again. His recruitment, for me, is too Scandinavian. And I just don't think, despite he was a messiah for how many months, and I just think he's fallen in a hole. they won the Scottish Cup. It gave him another, a jag of euphoria, but it's been temporary. And I think he's struggling to keep his head above water.
Too Scandinavian. He's certainly looking to some of the Scots to try and switch that. Stuart Armstrong, and Kevin Nisbet as well. He's got to.
The problem is he needs these guys to get up to speed.
Yeah.
Quickly. They've obviously missed pre-seasons and haven't come in fully match fit. I think he needs these guys to be hitting the ground running, and it's clearly taking time. He spent a lot of money over the summer. A lot of players coming in. For me, he's definitely under pressure.
Two brilliant signings, though. I mean, it's like Idiot's Guide to Signing Players. Stuart Armstrong and Kevin Nisbet are going to make you a better team. Something Rangers haven't managed to fathom yet, right? But two good players.
I fancy Motherwell.
Well, do you want to take something, Ali? I mean, I know this is the great joy of this programme. By the way, I have to read this line out before we hear from Jens Berthel-Laskau. And it's basically from a person whose handle is Jinky, so I think you know where his allegiances lie. But it's a good one, and it certainly sums up the programme today. Parsley has spent the whole show trying to outstare Ali. Exactly.
Say that again, please.
No, it's almost that look of disbelief as each one of us opens our gob.
It was a 3-minute silence when I said something about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. And Hugh Burns has actually really kind of summed it all up. And believe me, I'm not getting political or in any way ridiculing anybody who votes for a particular party. But you can understand where Hugh Burns is coming from with the slant on his humour as I read out, Parsley votes reform. So, as you can see, people have got brilliant opinions on everybody. And by the way, and reform could be in that person's eye, a sensible approach from yourself, slightly radical.
So what's your problem with reform?
Well, exactly. That's why I'm saying to you, see how I tried to balance it out there without everybody getting a baseball bat. It reminds me of and I apologise to anybody under 40, but it reminds me our feed is like the classic cartoon. My favourite cartoon of all time is Foghorn Leghorn, when eventually the dog's lead is so short that eventually he just scalps him with a baseball bat, and that's what this programme is all about. And with that in mind, Aberdeen have got it tough at Pittodrie because Motherwell, I accept, as many have pointed out, they haven't won a game, but boy, they've been really good to watch. And if some of those draws had turned into the odd victory here and there, as any manager will tell you, and they should have had a few, Jens Berthel-Laskau reckons they could have been higher up the league.
We feel that we are taking good steps in our game, and we know that we are really, really hard to beat. We haven't lost a game for I can't remember how long, and everyone has that feeling that we are so close, and it's not just a feeling that we are really, really close to winning our games. It's we are just 2 actions, not just phases or moments, 2 actions away from being third in the league.
Wow, there's a shout, isn't it? 2 actions away from being third in the league.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, honestly, if you're 3-0 up against Hearts, you need to shut it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think every manager could have moments like that where you go back and reference ifs and buts and would be here apart from that. I think he needs to work out a way that gets him over the line in games at 3-0. One is a classic case in point. I think I've seen Motherwell twice this season. They've been good to watch. I've enjoyed watching them. Defensively vulnerable.
Yeah, I don't know you. I mean, I haven't turned into the all singing, dancing, claret and amber fan, but it sounds as if I am. I've loved watching them.
Yeah. If I was my auntie's granny's uncle, kind of statement that. But
yes.
We'll forgive them that. If they're serving a product which is going to let fans go away having watched a game that's going to be a joy to watch, they have been. And I hear that his training sessions are so intense and it's all about switching play and moving the ball quickly, and his players are obviously relating to what he's trying to tell them to do.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Jock Stein and Jock Wallace and Bob Paisley, Bill Shankly, Sir Matt Busby, you can go through the whole lot of them. Never ask a player to do something that he's not capable of doing. And he's got a group of players that are buying into it and the majority of them are capable of doing what he wants.
Simple game. It's a simple game. If you can put them in a system that suits, Jim McLean is a master of it, and encourage players to play to their strengths. And I think as soon as you complicate things for players, they just sometimes knocks them off kilter.
Yeah.
Listen, I disagree with you actually. I think that Aberdeen will win, but again, it's purely law of averages, right? You can't keep losing games at home, but Motherwell need more punch. They need to deliver on that play, and that's what he's missing.
Okay, what's your prediction?
Aberdeen 1-0.
2-1 Motherwell.
2-1 Motherwell.
Yeah, it's a great show today, isn't it? Honestly, I mean, it's great.
There's absolutely no logic in these predictions whatsoever. It's like,
yeah, no, there is a bit of logic. The logic is that you. I'll tell you why I disagree with you on that line. The logic is you. I was going to say the logic is, and with every fan who watches football, the logic is that you let your eyes be your judge, and then you form an opinion based on regularly watching a team play. So there is a logic to it, and the logic is as well, which I think is in defence of Aberdeen, and it backs up what you're saying, is that I've spoken to so many Aberdeen fans who said, listen, see in the last couple of weeks, they haven't got the results, but they've tried to play football. There's been times when they've been absolutely dominating games. A red card against Falkirk, at times when the 3 or 4 chances and constant possession, they just haven't been able to turn it into goals. So your opinion that they might do it is absolutely fully justified, and lots of Aberdeen fans are on here just saying that. But obviously I'm saying to myself, wow, it's Motherwell for me, and you're backing it. Whether we're right or not, we'll find out. Kelly St Mirren, obviously it's taking place, we don't want the programme to be dated too much, but Kelly St Mirren, Stuart Kettlewell backed up what he was talking about with that penalty that he just did not see at Celtic last week.
I didn't see them. People always like to tell you good news, so I got.
My conclusion in the whole thing, hopefully to try and wrap it up, was that the VAR official seen the incident, told the referee to come over the screen. The referee seen the incident several times and deemed it a penalty. There was a very prompt statement after it. There was a quick statement after it, which feels a wee bit unusual because I think there's a lot of games that probably wouldn't be the case. I could be wrong in that. And that almost seemed to double down on it being the correct decision. Where I go now is, and my conclusion that I draw under it is, we see an awful lot of penalties and a lot that people are going to be really, really frustrated by. And this is where I now do sit. So you talk about having that conversation the Monday after the game, now where I'll sit and everything I'll question is, if those incidents aren't given as penalties, then that one was wrong.
Yeah, you understand why he's miffed.
Just amazed you managed to get through that in 30 seconds. He's usually 15 minutes with Stuart, aren't he?
Yeah, but he's good. I like him. Has he got a point?
Yes, he has. Listen, he always talks sense. He voices his grievances and he does it in a very kind of measured way, which I applaud. A lot of lessons to be learned for his approach.
Yeah, and of course you'll hear now from Stephen Robinson, because he's been getting it in the neck. Of course Chris Sutton has been very vocal, and many a manager can handle criticism. Stephen is certainly one who looks on it and is fairly balanced in his reply.
I didn't see them. People always like to tell you good news, so I got told some of it, but listen, everyone's got an opinion and everyone's entitled to it. I don't actually care. To be honest with you, I'm very confident in what I do. You don't get 400 league games if you don't know what you're doing, and yeah, everyone's entitled to their opinion, so that's it. Listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion, so that's what people are paid for, to try and stay relevant, and yeah, it doesn't bother me too much, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
It was a penalty kick, we agreed on that.
No, we're not. But that's another. That's another programme. No,
okay.
You're not. Not for me. You thought it was a penalty. Okay, try not to outstare her. Cara was out there to look ahead to Dundee Livingston.
Despite the quarter-finals of the Premier Sports Cup taking place this weekend, there's still Scottish Premiership action as Livingston take on Dundee at Dens Park. And speaking today, David Martindale spoke about his side and the belief that they can take from a point at the weekend, but insisted that full focus is on Livingston and not the opposition they face.
This season, I'm going to make sure I stick to my guns, and I'm not going to fall back into looking on the opposition too much. I want to focus on us as a group. I trust the changing room. I trust the staff, I trust myself. I want to focus on what we can bring to the game opposed to what the opponent can bring to the game.
He was also asked for his opinion on the VAR controversies that took place at Kilmarnock this weekend, and this is what the Livingston boss had to say.
I said, I don't think it's a pen, I don't think it should be a pen, but my interpretation of the law was it probably could be a pen, just because it was going on target. But again, I'll be really honest, I'm kind of sometimes you think you know the rules and you don't know the rules, because I think there's such a big grey area at times. So, aye, that's kind of where I am with it. I'd be devastated if it happened against me. I'd be claiming for it if it happened for me. But I don't think the types of incidents should be penalty kicks.
It's a 3 p.m. kick-off then on Saturday as David Martindale and Stephen Presley's side go head-to-head in the Scottish Premiership, and PLZ Soccer will be there to have you covered, so make sure that you follow us on all of our social media channels.
Yeah, so that's the only league game. We'll run right out of time, Party, so I'm going to go for Dundee to win.
You're happy with that? I'm happy with that.
Yeah, you're going for Dundee to get the win. Ali?
1 each.
1 each. Okay, it's been an interesting programme. Lots to talk about, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you to so many of you, in fact, for your opinions as well. Some obviously enjoying the chat. Of course, it's been a day of people staring at each other and also shouting and disagreeing with each other, but that's what Scottish football is all about. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our channel. It means a lot to us. We have been told that lots of people tune in, but they just don't hit that button to subscribe. It gives you notifications of what's happening, some of our content as well. If you hit the subscribe on our premium channel, you'll get the chance to enter the draw to win yourself a pair of tickets, flights and accommodation to the Champions League final in Budapest in the Puskás Arena. Certainly not to be missed. All you have to do is subscribe to PLZ Premium as well. There's lots of programming that I think you'll enjoy. Our reporters are out at the games this weekend. You'll get managers' reaction, players' reaction as well to those Premier Sports Cup ties and the league game as well. It's all here, and if you download the app, it's all at your fingertips. Thanks to Partsy, thanks to Alison McConnell, and from myself, Peter Martin. Thank you to you for listening and watching.
Welcome to the PLZ Soccer Shop. 20 football legends, one incredible collection, canvas, prints, t-shirts. Pele, Maradona, Cruyff, Messi, Ronaldo. Wear them, frame them, celebrate them. From the pitch to your wall, they're yours. The Legends Collection, only at the PLZ Soccer Shop. Click the link and get yours now.